G'day investors and welcome to another episode of Stocks to Watch. My name's John Franklin, an experienced exploration geologist and your host. Today we're taking a deeper look at Arctic Minerals, a Nordic-focused copper explorer with assets across Sweden, Finland and Norway, with its flagship copper project being the Hennes Bay SSC-style deposit in southwestern Sweden. Today I'm sitting with the Executive Director, Peter George. Firstly, Pete, welcome to the show.
Yeah, g'day, John. How are you?
I'm great, mate. It's good to be talking to you again. Different media platform, but still exciting nonetheless. So, as a quick snapshot of Arctic for anyone who's new to the story, I guess, is you put out a maiden resource earlier this year, 55 million tonnes at 1% copper equivalent, based off historic drilling. Just within the last 2 months, you've secured 17.5 million krona of funding, which is just below $2 million US for those not aware of the SEC. And now you're going to spend that money forwarding these projects with exploration. And it looks like you've wasted little time launching into some Magneto-Telluric geophysical surveys. So before we launch into the kind of how the survey went, do you just want to give viewers a snapshot of Hennes Bay and why is it special?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Yeah, thanks, John. Well, look, for those you don't know about Hennes Bay, so it's a, I'd say it's not a well-known part of Sweden with regards to mining, even though there's been mining going on there for centuries in one form or another. And I think the last time they mined down that area was at the Stockstotrade mine, which sits on our tenement sort of between the late 1800s and the mid-1900s. They were still fiddling around down there. But the Hennes Bay part of it itself, or the SSC, as you mentioned, it's not. It was drilled out by the Swedish state. Going back into the 80s, 70s and 80s. Like you said, they delineated a historical resource down there. We picked it up a couple of years ago. I think before copper was getting sexy again, really started to dig deep into what we thought we could see. And I think it's fair to say that we've been surprised at what we have and what we potentially could have going forward. So with the March MRE that we put out, the 55 million tonnes, that's really just a starter resource as far as we're concerned. There's a hell of a lot of mineralisation around. We've got another 5 prospects there that really only require a little bit more drilling for us to upgrade that into JORC compliance. We've got outcropping at surface nearly 18 kilometres away, up to 1.7% copper and 40 grams per tonne silver. So this is quite typical of these large deposits and very consistent type mineralised deposits over a large area. So no, we're super excited about it, and that's as you say, we've raised the money, we've got the funding that we need to get in and get started. We had Eric and his team of geos have been crawling all over the top of it and really getting down into the nitty-gritty of the structural geology side of things in preparation for our geophysics, which we've just completed, and hopefully that's then going to roll into drilling later on in the year.
Great. So you've got high grade samples from surface. Sounds like you've already got drill targets potentially set out, but this MT survey is just making sure that everything is where it sits before you launch into drilling.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the detail that we have today, it was quite obvious where to drill back in the 80s and 90s because it was all outcropping. So that's where it's the majority of the drilling has been easy, I guess you could say. So we've got a fairly good understanding of the top sort of 100 metres, which, if this was back in Australia, it would have been mined out 20, 30 years ago, guaranteed. But because we are in Sweden and with the lack of investment in exploration and mining as a whole, these sorts of opportunities have come about, and we've grabbed it with both hands.
Yeah. To expand on what you just said there as well, because I find it's fascinating facet of Sweden is you mentioned that it hasn't had that long history of investment, because up until kind of the 90s, it was dominated by state-owned companies that kind of controlled the sector. And so there's this lag of capital inflow coming from private sectors. So it's a really good point you make there. So launching into the survey itself, and I'm aware you haven't got the full results yet back from the survey, but for anyone who's not aware of a Magneto-Telluric or MT survey, I guess it maps the electrical resistivity, which is just the opposite of conductivity, so they're inversely related. And you guys are sitting in the fortunate position that your ore body is hosted by both sulfides and a graphitic shale, which are both conductive bodies on either side, wedged in igneous, which are very non-conductive. So I can imagine that the results will be coming out, and there'll be some areas lighting up in that. When do you think the results will be available to use for targeting?
The survey itself went really quick. We've had a ripping summer up here, as you know, being from down near where you're living, and we'd sort of allowed, I think it was 10 or 12 days to get the survey done. We did the whole thing in 3 days, which was fantastic effort from the guys. But we had lightning going off everywhere within Sweden. I think we had fires in the north, and there was lightning going off in the south. And but we were very fortunate to sort of pick a window where we could fly the helicopter for 4 days, and it just went off smoothly. So I'm expecting to get the detailed results in probably about a month's time. I have seen the initial results coming back, which it doesn't tell us an awful lot, except that, as you mentioned, the existing ore bodies, we can see those in the study, so they do light up. So that's the first tick as far as we're concerned, to be able to say, well, yeah, this is a new method that's being trialled in Sweden at the moment. So it's really exciting, but it's been used in other parts of the world, and as you say, in these SSC style mineralizations, it's really effective for looking anywhere down to 1,000 meters and giving us a really good 3D idea of what's going on with structures and with with our ore bodies. So we're really super excited to see what's going to come out in about a month's time.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing those results. So shifting away from the geology and looking, well, not completely, but if we look at the PEA that's ongoing, you're in the process of putting together a mining study. Could you give us shed a bit of light on what's happening there?
Yeah, well, the mining study, the results are out now. So it is a part of the PEA. It doesn't talk about the financials of the project, but we've been quite strategic here in that regard, because we don't want to suggest to the market that what we have here at Hennes Bay is all we've got. Like I mentioned at the start, this is a starter resource for us. We think that this resource is going to be significantly bigger. So the whole point of the mining study was really just to demonstrate what the mineability, I guess, of Hennes Bay itself. And from my perspective, as a mining engineer, I really wanted to be able to sit in front of everybody and say, look, put my hand on my heart and say, look, yeah, this is a very mineable resource. So when we've had Deswick in there doing quite an in-depth study, and for a PEA level, they've gone a bit above and beyond, but it's not something that's normal in Sweden with this style of room and pillar mining. I think the last room and pillar mine we had in Sweden was up in Laisvall, which I worked at going back into the late 90s. But it's very similar to the copper schiffer style projects down there in Poland with KGHM, just to be able to get my head around what that looks like, and to be able to say to the market that we've got a project here that's going to be a multi-decade project moving forward. At the moment, it's being designed to sort of around about that 3 to 4 million tonne per annum mark, but there's an awful lot of potential upside there as well.
That gives you a lot of headway, 55 million tonnes, 3 to 4 million tonne per annum. So that's fantastic. So shifting away from your Hennes Bay deposit up towards the north of Sweden for the Swan Lake deposit, I understand you're wedged between two major copper deposits in ARCT and Leva. And for anyone who's not aware of ARCT, you can just Google Europe's largest copper mine to get an idea of what's going on there. Could you give us a background of what's happening at Swan Lake and where do you see upside there?
Yeah, look, on a local scale, the Swan Lake Project is really characterised by these sort of large-scale alteration system that's been delineated over tens of square kilometres, and it's got a historic occurrence of copper, gold, silver, a bit of moly in there, mineralisation as well. So, and we're seeing high-grade boulders of similar metal in that part of the world, but it started off as a diamonderite quartzite occurrence, and I think they actually mined a bit of it going back a few decades ago, which they were looking to use it for sort of gemstones or bench tops or something along those lines, but that's now being interpreted as being representing the upper parts of a porphyry epithermal system, which is directly linked to stockwork, copper, gold, silver, moly mineralisation. And I think that the recent fieldwork has really uncovered these quartz sulfide stockwork veining in the area. So it's a very interesting part of our I guess our well-balanced story, as we call it. But I think based on the interpretation of geological mapping, rock chip and soil sampling and also the geophysical surveys that we've done so far, the project's really considered highly prospective for the epithermal and lithocap gold, silver and porphyry gold style mineralisation. So I know Eric and Nico are heading up there at the moment to go up and do a little bit more field work, and we have an IP survey planned in the next wee while to go in and take a bit of a deeper look, which is super exciting from our point of view because it's as you say, it sits in between Arctic and lava, and we think we're onto another potential porphyry here. All the rocks are heading in that same direction. So very, very early days, but super exciting all the same.
Great. In the thought of time, we won't cover the other projects, but you've got a bunch else in the portfolio.
Absolutely.
If you just wanted to finish off, round it out in 3 short statements, what makes ARCT a compelling investment opportunity?
Yeah. Well, look, it's early days as far as ARCT is concerned, but we have a pathway compared to other projects or other companies around where we're looking to concentrate on the high value technical work and the permitting, especially down at our Hennes Bay project. So we can see a 5-6 year window for us to sort of really smash that work out and build our resources as quickly as possible and potentially even get ourselves up to construction ready by that point in time. So there's a whole bunch of milestones in there which hopefully will, all things going well, will revalue the company. We're only sitting around that sort of 250 million krona mark at the moment. If you have a look at some of our peers, I guess Viscaria is a classic example of that. They're up over around about that 1.5 to 2 billion mark, and they've gone through a very similar process to us over the last 5-6 years. So we know what we want to do. We know where we want to go. We're working very hard on the funding aspects. We've just raised a 17.5 million krona, so we're right to go with our geophysical surveys. We've got drilling coming up, so a hell of a lot of news flow coming up over the next wee while, and then of course you've got the copper market, which I think it's hard to argue that we're not reaching. Well, we haven't already reached peak copper. So the pressure on the supply side and consequently the price of copper is immense. And I think our timing is perfect.
Great thesis there, Pete. Yeah. Well, as usual, it's been great talking to you, and look forward to hearing some more news flow.
Absolutely. Good on you, John. Talk to you later.